morning, folkers. Snapzilla Gorilla in the van on my way to do a job walk. So, California is becoming something very dangerous, okay? It's becoming a dangerous place to live. So, two things. One, the bill that would eliminate any exemption for the forced vaccinations for children is moving swiftly through the state Senate. It's probably going to be approaching the governor's desk soon. And that's a huge problem for anybody whose kids go to school. Now, for me, my kids are homeschooled. They do take some classes through a charter school program, but it's like a couple hours a day, so it's not something major. And it's different stuff. It's like STEM classes, kung fu. They're taking some sports classes. It's very fun. A lot of outdoors activity. Next semester they're going to be taking some marine biology courses down at the beach. So it's pretty cool. But my children don't have to be vaccinated to participate in these things. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't worry about all the countless other children that are going to be affected by this new law. I can't just think about my children. I got to think about all the children of the world, because they haven't done anything to deserve the treatment that they're going to be getting. Every year these people implement more and more vaccinations. I mean, right now we have 72 injections before these children reach the age of like 7 or something like that, or 11. And then what happens at age 7 with these young girls? They give them the Gardasil shot, which can ruin their lives forever. California is a sad sight. And, if anybody lives in California that's in my audience, or, if you know somebody who lives in California, I don't know. I suggest an exodus, okay? Because shit's getting real. Shit's getting real. And it's crazy. Like, California is becoming its own separate country, basically. I mean, they're doing all kind of wild shit. San Francisco is declaring the NRA a terrorist group, even though I don't feel like the NRA is really about protecting the Second Amendment. But still, it's the symbol behind it, right? You declare the NRA to be domestic terrorist. But what about its members? Are they terrorists too for being members? For being dues-paying members that only want to protect their Second Amendment rights? And I talked yesterday about how some Negroes feel about black people wanting to protect the Second Amendment. Oh, because it doesn't apply to us. Dumbass thinking. Bring your ass to California. You know what? You Negroes that think like that, come bring your ass to California. Y'all stay here. Anyway, and then another thing is the expansion of the GVRO. Okay? Has just passed the Senate. So it's probably going to go through legal review, right? And hopefully they discover that it's unconstitutional, and whatever judge it gets in front of, hopefully they'll nix it. Hopefully they'll say, look, man, this is way too unconstitutional. We can't have this. Just like they did with the just like they did with the high capacity magazine ban in California. One judge did the right thing. He said, no, we can't. This is unconstitutional. There's no point to this. Even though he kind of caved a little bit in regards to the sales of high capacity magazines in California. He caved on that. But that's still going ongoing situation. But a GVRO is a gun violence restraining order. Okay? Now look at the name. Gun violence restraining order. Now, it used to be that a family member who feels like you might be a danger to yourself and others could turn you in, right? Get a gun violence restraining order put out against you, and they will take your guns without due process. Just from the word of a family member. They can come take your guns for a certain amount of time. I think it was like a year or something like that. So for 12 months, you would have to go to a judge, get evaluated. But during that 12 months, you're presumed guilty of what a family member accused you of. And your guns are taken away. So, first of all, that's a hell of an infringement of your Second Amendment rights. I mean, it's the ultimate infringement. Like, without due process, that's another amendment. That's the Fourth Amendment. So they're violating the Fourth Amendment and the Second Amendment with the GVRO, which is California's version of red flag law. Okay, it's California's version of red flag law. There's no two ways about it. Well, now they just expanded it to classmates, co-workers, neighbors, any the secondary school members or whatever that have been in contact with you within the last 6 months. So if you get into it with your neighbor and they somehow know you have some heat, they can call the cops on you and say that, hey, this guy is a danger. He flashed his gun in front. I mean, they could lie. So these red flag laws allow people to have your rights stripped from you based on a lie. Your rights being violated can be predicated on a lie by an individual who has it in for you. Now, tell me, is that really the right thing to do? And how are we allowing this as, so-called Americans? What was it? How are we allowing this? Come on. Even you liberal California, come on, look at how much of a violation that is. That's a violation of your privacy. That's a violation of your Second Amendment. They're stealing from you. They're taking your property, and you haven't committed a crime just because somebody perceived you to be a threat, if they really perceive that. So anybody can lie on you and tell the cops, who can get a warrant to take your shit away, and you don't have to commit a crime. Why do I keep repeating that? Because I want y'all to see how little sense it makes. How are we letting this happen? Man, I tell you what, it's time to go. I can't do this much longer. My wife, she wants to wait a couple years to leave. I told her 2 instances in which we have to get the hell out of here immediately, ASAP. One is when they when they make laws to force vaccinate your children, regardless of whether or not they're going to school, including homeschooling children. So if they pass a law in that regard, and if they pass this GVRO expansion bill, that's another instance in which we can't stay here. So sometimes you gotta make the right move. when the time warrants it. When the time's warranted, you have to make that move. You got to sacrifice. You know, you got to make a way out of no way. And the sacrifice that we would be making leaving California, for me, is family. You know, we won't be around as much family. And the weather. You know, the beaches. You know, things like that. Little things you take for granted when you live in a state like this. When you've been living in a state like this for decades, and no one else really knows the value of it. But it's time to go anyway. It's way too expensive. You know, the liberal. It's a communist state, and I don't rock with communism. You know, it's becoming more and more ridiculous. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So anyway, if you live in California, look out for those laws. Okay, they're really close to passing. No exemptions for vaccines unless you get a medical exemption that's not only done by your doctor, but it has to go to a state official for final approval. Think about that one. Okay, and recognize this. I don't understand why some parents feel the need to force their belief that every child should be vaccinated on you. They're the reason that this is happening, because of the fear being driven into them by corporate doctors and corporate medicine, you know, and the controllers in the state, the Senate, and the governorship. Let me tell you something. If you believe in vaccines and you want to get your children vaccinated, more power to you. Go ahead, handle that. But that doesn't mean that you should force my child or force that onto my children because that's your belief. No. I should not be forced to inject poison in my child because it makes you comfortable. Because I tell you what, if you want your child to be vaccinated and vaccines work, vaccinate your children, and they shouldn't have to worry about getting sick by an unvaccinated child. If vaccines work, then there would not be this fear that one child who isn't vaccinated can spread the disease to children that are vaccinated. Help me make sense of that. You can't. So therefore, use your brain. If your child's vaccinated, my child should not be able to get your vaccinated child sick. So you shouldn't be concerned about that. And if you're concerned about my children, don't. My children are very healthy. They've never had more than a couple sniffles, you know, during the winter time. You know what I'm saying? They're very healthy. They're growing. And their minds are sharp. My children are very smart. So don't concern yourself with the well-being of my child. Worry about your child, and you should be worried about the fact that you're putting something in your child that shouldn't be there. You're injecting them with chemicals. You're injecting them with viruses grown in flesh that do not belong to them. Viruses are endemic to the bodies that they exist in, which means that if your body contracts a virus, the virus was created by your body. That's what that means. That means that it's unique to your own body. It has your signature DNA material in it. Okay? That's what that means. You know, it's funny. They tell you, that viruses are floating around all over the place. That they're on doorknobs, and they're in the air, and they're in the steering wheel, and they're here, they're there, they're everywhere. But then they tell you that they can't survive in an oxygen-rich environment for more than a few seconds. So which one is it? I'll tell you what it is. The viruses that you have in your body are created by your body. Don't take my word for it though. Do the research. As a matter of fact, I might do a presentation on that. Show you guys some receipts. But the viruses that you have in your body, when you're sick, when you get sick with certain things, the viruses that exist in your body are created by your body. They're created by you. And they cannot leave, or they cannot survive without your cells in existence. You understand what I'm saying? But when they grow these viruses that they put into you on other flesh, like horse liver and fetal tissue, they grow them. They have to grow the viruses within the tissue. They can't just grow the virus, in a petri dish. They can't create a virus, right? They can't extract a virus from another body, whether it be a human body or an animal body, and just, saturate it in aluminum adjuvants and all the other stuff, and put it into a clear chemical and put it into a syringe and inject it into you. They have to grow it in the flesh of animals or humans before, and it has to propagate. It has to grow within that flesh, with that infected flesh, within that infected flesh. Cancer tissue, okay? These viruses grow in cancer tissue. So not only are you getting cancer cells injected into you, you're also getting viral tissue from other things. So when they give you the Hep B, when they give your child the Hep B vaccination, it's not just it's grown in the flesh of that animal or that fetal tissue, because they can't grow it any other way. They can't just create it. How do you think they're getting these viruses, people? How do you think they're getting these viruses? They're not getting them out of osmosis, I'll tell you that. They have to grow them. And it's not synthetic growth either, like I said. So, I mean, it's sick. And this is what you want injected into your child, under the assumption that, under the assumption that it'll help you, it'll help keep you from getting sick. Man, y'all put a lot of trust in these doctors. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I'm gonna tell you the only reason that you should not the only reason, but the biggest argument you can have against vaccinations is the fact that it has not been tested for impairment of fertility, it has not been tested for carcinogenic potential, and it has not been tested for mutagenic potential. Over 90% of the vaccines that they have out there have not been tested for any of that stuff. Why not? They test everything else. Why not test that? Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I believe they haven't tested it. Well, it's because they have tested it, and they found that it's very damaging, and thus they're going to tell you they're not testing it, that it hasn't been tested. Simple as that. Anyway, I've been rambling on and on. I just don't like the manipulation. Okay? The most effective branch of government is the media. The propaganda branch. They're the ones who inject the fear in people's hearts and get them to give up all their freedoms. The media, the propaganda machine. the branch of propaganda. They're the ones getting all this shit pushed through. You know, the politicians can only do so much without the media, you know, without sensationalism. And this is why we're stuck. This is why somebody 3,000 miles away can dictate what you can and can't do. And this is why we allow it. Because of the media tells us, oh, if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to die. Oh, Ebola has come to the United States. Oh, the H1N1 flu has come to the United States. The bird flu, this flu, that flu. What happened to Ebola? What happened to it? Because, you know, a couple years ago, there was an Ebola scare, right? There was an Ebola scare a couple years ago. Nothing came of it. And then it came up again this year. And again, nothing came of it. I wonder why that is. Could it be that people are wising up and they're like, out of here with that bullshit? What happened? People are waking up. I give you guys credit. I give the people credit. The people are waking up and they're becoming wise to all the manipulation, all the BS. I just wish California would wake up a little bit more and realize what's going on. You have the streets of San Francisco are filled with boo-boo. Okay? You have to literally look down everywhere you walk, because at any moment you can step into a pile of human shit. I mean, you can't even look down at your cell phone. You're getting You're getting tech neck from looking down at boo-boo, not from looking down at your phone in San Francisco. Yet they want to act like the NRA is a terrorist group. No. The city of San Francisco, the mayor, right? The people that run San Francisco is part of a terrorist group, because they're allowing these disease-ridden fecal matter balls to run rampant in the streets. Oh, man. Anyway. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. You know what the terrorist group is? The Congress. You know, since we're declaring terrorist groups arbitrarily, you know, like the black identity extremists. You know what the terrorist group is? The Senate. You know who the terrorist group is? The police. Those are the terrorist groups. Anyway, I'll holler at y'all later.